Authority does lean into being okay with your own decisions and how things are going to go, communicating that so that you own the power that you have in your relationships, no matter who's next to you or who you're speaking. If it's your business, you are an authority.
This is the Brown Way to Money podcast, where women of color in business find their financial independence path. Because financial success is within our reach, but by playing by their rules, it is only going to take us halfway there. To succeed, we must take ownership of our voice with money. So, welcome to the Brown Way to Money podcast. But before we start, very quick, what an extra $500 will do for you or for your business this month? Well, maybe that is for payroll, to get that social media strategy, or to simply go and relax this month, take a massage, whatever it is. You could be the receiver of one of the micrograms we give here at the Brown Way to Money. If you want to have a chance to be the receiver of these micrograms, then pay attention to the secret word on this episode. And then go to brownwaytomoney.com and submit your application. I am so excited to have you here, Rosemary. I am eager to know the ins and outs of your business and managing your business with family. I think it is so important to have this conversation because as a Latina and as an Afro-Latina, as a Black woman, I want to work with my family. But I also know that I have my limits. Right? I have things that I'm not sure about, things that I prefer to avoid instead of embracing. Our conversation was so enlightening because you gave me so many insights on, well, don't do this or don't do that, or maybe look at it that way. And that's the conversation I want to have today. So let's start with the question on how did you decided that you were going to work with your mom and how the whole relationship started?
The relationship with my mother, I think it's just very united. Like I would say, like we're very close. So naturally, I'm inclined to include her in the different projects that I have going on and what I'm doing, what I'm up to. And if I see that she has some free time, I also say, hey, why not help me with this? I'm like drowning. And so that basically, the drowning aspect led me to, and then the relationship already existing led me to saying, hey, why don't you join me in and like learning with me, right? Take on studying this specialty, which is completely away from what you studied and what you specialize in and your own passions. And I just really emphasize how fun it would be. More emphasis on the fun than the stress, because yes, there's moments where I'm just like, I'm not my best person. And I would say that happens because I'm stressed. And I know that I might not have eaten that day, might not have slept. Maybe my first meal is at 5 p.m. because I'm just running. And that is what life looks like for me.
Yeah. Yes. And so let's give some context. Tell me, what do you do? What is your business about? And since when you guys started to work together, and what was the before and the after you started working together?
So I would say I am an accountant and bookkeeper, and my clients range from different industries, nonprofit, trust and estate space, and the social media content creator love. I just see myself in them and all of the ways that their lives really coexist with their business. And I love being able to dissect it. This might not look like a business expense, move it over here and like, let's include this. And I do ask a lot of questions. I love the work that I do. I have an audit background, so I love asking questions and being nosy. I do it with a smile. My clients love it. They don't know where I'm going with the things I'm going when I ask my questions, but it's okay. It leaves them in a good place in the end. I'm always looking out for them. So I am required to really talk to my clients and be on top of them and be with them in their process of entrepreneurship, themselves. So I'm like an entrepreneur next to other entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what that looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like chaos and chaos in one bucket. However, I get really clear, first of all, on things that belong to me and the things that belong to other people.
Yes. Yes.
And so I've done the same thing with my mom. At first, I brought her on as an apprentice and I had her go through a whole QuickBooks course that I paid for, right? And we signed the contract and she's just questioning me the whole time, like, why am I signing this? So what do I have to do? Why am I doing this? And I said, well, in the case that anyone does inquire and ask, we have
Right.
documentation in place. Like we have clear communications, documented, everything documented. And so document everything. And so that way you really, things are very clear and there's nothing to really question. So once she was done with that, like I have her kind of as an advisor in my work, and I consider her part of my team. And if there's something that's going on with a client and I just can't really wrap my head around it only because I'm so inside of the weeds. It's really hard to like just have a clear perspective on what your end result is. I do struggle with that because I'm so upfront with the different things I feel
Right.
with other clients.
So you mentioned a couple of things that I think are very important for any relationship. When you're starting a business relationship, are very important to have, which is a contract and clear understandings of your activities and what you expect from each other, right? On this business relationship. I am wondering, how did you serve the normal kind of like levels of she is your mother and you are giving her directions? I think that is one of my biggest concerns because I have been working, like my mom hired me. That was my first job. My mom is an accountant as well. And I was her bookkeeper assistant because I did my high school in bookkeeping specialization. That was my first job. And I understand that she was my mom, an authority, and then she was my boss. Right. So in that case, I was like, okay, makes sense. I'm not ever stepping into her authority, but this is all the way around. How did you manage to cross and for both of you to be okay because you guys run a successful business? So how do you manage that? It is time for Brown Weight Unfiltered, where we take a moment to talk about the one thing with money, the one belief, the one conversation that you were too scared to talk about. But when you did, everything changed for the better.
I had a client, well, they were my client yet at the time, and they signed the contract. They printed out a contract, modified it with things that I didn't agree upon.
Mhm.
And I was beside myself because I had worked really hard on that contract, only to have them sign their own version of it and send it in a PDF with things scratched out and dates changed. And I said to myself, "Well, how do I proceed in this situation?" Because one, it probably was one of the biggest contracts I had signed up until that point, and it was going to make or break me
Right.
having to either go back and find a regular job or be able to keep the client. That I was like in such a hard place making that decision and how to be diplomatic about it, right? Without pointing things out and saying, you did this wrong. I didn't want to approach it from that mentality. And I remember sitting on that for a few days. Like I didn't respond for a little while. I had to think about it because I was just so angry. And I ended up having a meeting with my coach. I chatted with him about it, and I said, even my mother, but her perspective and my perspective are not always the perspective that give the same results. And I really, really, really wanted to practice building bridges and having compassion. And I responded with saying, "Hey, I noticed that, you signed it in this way with these dates, and the implication for that change is this price. And you are more than welcome to sign on at this rate, and I'm happy to accept your changes at this rate. And when I put a price tag on their changes, they were just assuming things, right? I had
Right.
calculated everything out. The accountant and me will have everything down to the penny. But here, like you're not about to, and I'm not about to eat the costs of doing that work, right?
Right.
Because there's costs to providing a service, and I was very conscious of that. And I went back to the client, hey, we can either keep the original, which is the one I sent, or we can do things at this rate, considering your changes. And
Right.
they are like, oh, no, 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 no. We get to make more money.
Wow. 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 This is the power of owning your voice. And you guys know throughout the Brown Way to Money podcast, the Brown framework, the O stands for owning your voice as a key for financial independence. This story is a proof of that. How did you manage for both of you to be okay? Because you guys run a successful business. So how did you manage that?
Recently, I said to her, am I not like the kindest, sweetest person you know? And she just looked at me with eyes of horror. Therefore, I would say that
I can't.
in my world, in my own vision, I'm just so nice. I'm so understanding. Just I'm the best
Right.
boss that there is.
Ever.
But when my background is first Latina, she's also Latina. So imagine the personalities, they're strong.
Right.
And so I in Spanish there I always think me tengo que bajar, like I have to bring myself back down to earth, because she might come to me in a moment where I'm deep into something I'm working on, and I will be very dismissive, or I'll be short, and that is truly the worst way to really deal with someone. And so I do find myself saying often, I'm like, hey, I'm working on something, and I'll come right back to you, and give me XYZ time. Give me 5 minutes. Give me 10 minutes. Let me come back to you in a couple hours. I'm running into calls with clients. Like I do explain, or not explain, but I just let her know when I will be available and not a jerk at the same time.
Yeah. 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 Let's tap into the Latina responses and attitudes. Because, are quick to answer, right? Like, wait, like we want quick answers. We want to move fast wherever we can. How have you, and I guess with your mom, but with your whole team, how do you get clear and communicate what you are expecting from each person on your team, and how is different or not with your mom?
So my mother understands that, she sees how I work and, how intensely I care, and she wants the best for me always. And she's expressed that to me, and I've expressed the same. Like I want to make her proud. And at the same time, I want to be successful. I also perhaps see myself having her retire and being able to cover like everyone's costs. I just, that's the inclination. Like that's where my heart wants me to be, and wants our relationship to look like in the future. And that's why I work hard, and she sees that. So everything that really, there's so much grace in our relationship. Right. And I don't think that it's possible to get anywhere without that. Right. And the clear communication. Yeah. And explaining yourself, and apologizing. And there's a level of acknowledging where you might have been too harsh, and you call that out, right? You call it out first. And I think that's so important. It takes, oh my goodness, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, because it's not normal to kind of be humble about things. Some people are very brash, and they just own that way of living and existing. However, it leads, I feel like it leads to a lot of burned bridges, and it doesn't foster relationship. So at the end of the day, business is business, but your mother and the family that you have, you might never see them again, right? Like those are the things that coexist. And so there's a lot of that, that I've already understood and I've checked off in my mind, that the filter is you got to treat these people like with the kindness that you would want to receive, right? And for me, that's huge. Like, I don't even work with business partners or referral partners or anything. Anyone that doesn't have that box ticked off for me. Like, they just don't have that awareness
Yes.
to deal with people.
That is such a basic point that tend to be forgotten when we do business. It's like, well, I need this and that, but you need a filter and you need to perceive this relationship. So I love that you mentioned it. And I'm wondering if you have clients right now that are in a similar position of working with family. Have you seen their dynamics and how different or similar are to yours?
Yes, I have a couple. They're a married couple, and they do work with their, they work with family, right? They're married, so I don't know if there's any closer relationship than that.
I mean, you know what is the difference in my mind of working? I guess this is the Latina and the hierarchy is coming through, but in my mind, working with my partner is working with my equal partner. In my mind, working with my parents is working with higher power, right? Because here's the thing, when I'm working with my partner, I am not overthinking anything. It's like, this is it, X, Y, and Z. And I love you. I say it all from respect, but I say everything that it needs to be said. In some occasions, when I need to work with my parents, I need to think and filter a lot. And I guess that's what I wonder is like, if you have seen this relationship. And you know what? I want your take on it, because do you see any difference, or you see it as the same relationship, as the same kind of levels? What is your take on that?
Well, I've actually had to get coaching on this particular aspect of seeing authority figures and my reaction to authority figures. And then also having myself consider myself as an authority figure.
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy. It's like
Yeah.
you're in a house of mirrors at that point. However, what I really got to see is that authority doesn't mean harsh. However, authority does lean into under being okay with your own decisions and how things are going to go, right? And communicating that so
Wow.
that you own the power that you have in your relationships, no matter who's next to you or who you're speaking to. If it's your business, you are an authority, right? And so right off the bat, that realization will
Right.
change the way that you show up, no matter who you're talking to, because it just won't, you
Yeah.
just won't let things get over on you that in the same way as if you didn't have that perspective or didn't own your space, own your decisions, own how you want things to go.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Wait, girl, let it sing. Let it sing for everybody that is listening to this episode, because I am thinking on it. I mean, you are the authority of yourself and it's your business. So from that perspective, it changes. I guess until now that I'm having this conversation with you, I guess it in my mind it just flipped every time that I was going to talk about my parents to become that 7 years old. Like, those are my parents. Those are like, right. But it's completely a different environment. I guess my next question is, and this is for those of you out there who want to start business or who want to incorporate to your current business, help from family members, help from a partner, from a mom, from a dad, from a children. What are, in your experience, those benefits that you have seen of working together? Financial benefits, mental benefits, but the biggest one that I want to know is that emotional benefit.
the biggest benefits to involving my mom in the work that I'm doing is that I feel like she gets to tell other family members about how things are going. You know, the gossip in our culture runs rampant. And so indirectly, I feel like other people in my family are picking up the entrepreneurship bug as a result of having her see things firsthand, and be able to have her be that person to say, oh yeah, I saw Vaughn do this. This is how things went down. If you want to talk to her, you can, or else you can go, she can give a recommendation because she can be her own kind of mentor for other people and foster that entrepreneurship mindset, which in my family, I would say I'm like one of the only people with their own business in my immediate family. And so I've never seen it as an example. And
Right.
so the benefit does lead to other people seeing that, yeah, you can go off on your own. You can do it. You can go, it's going to take work and there's nothing rosy about it outside of how we present ourselves, right? However, I just wouldn't trade it for the world. So, and the fact that even travel wise, I can, have her come with me. We can scheme out our next business plans together, and we have other companies that we want to start. So there's different things that we want to get into, whether it's
Yeah.
art or real estate, and all of that has been opened up as a result of seeing that, yes, one way of business and one industry works for us. We can definitely take this dynamic and bring it to the rest of our
Amazing.
generational wealth, in a sense, right? Because that in the end, that really is what stands to be true. Like, even after my mom is not here, what we'll have left is all the things that we built together. And that really brings me so much joy and great memories, even with the bickering. I wouldn't trade it,
Listen, I love that you mentioned generational wealth. How are you defining generational wealth with this partnership that you guys have formed?
Well, she says
Yes.
to me, everything that is hers stands to be mine. And so she expects me to care about all the things that she's up to and all the things that she's doing and her well-being, her assets, all that. It's all inclusive into the idea of generational wealth. Not only is it health, right? Because people really underestimate the cost of health
Yep.
in our lives, and that's part of it. So she likes to be active, go for walks, eat well, very health conscious, and on top of that, also asset wise, finances wise, she's always telling me, okay, you should probably be putting money aside for this or save for this other thing that you weren't expecting. Yeah, there's a lot of things that come into that, and those are some of the benefits, I would say.
Love it. When it comes to new entrepreneurs or just starting, aspiring in entrepreneurs that are wondering how they will benefit or how would a life be if they were to start a business with their family, if they were to start this journey where maybe it's not a family member but a friend. Because, there is a lot of hesitation about that this experience that you're sharing is not a common experience.
I would say, well, depending on the situation, right? First, you really have had to work on yourself. That looks like therapy. That looks like having a coach. That looks like the other person being on the same playing field. Right? You're not going to do anything with someone who thinks that they're perfect in every single way. There's no bridge for you to foster anything where that person feels like they have nothing to work on. There's no point in being kind. They don't believe in kindness. There are certain values you want to look out for to make sure that this person is a good fit, family or not, to bring them in. And where are they an optimistic person, right? That also has an impact because I have plenty of Debbie Downers in my life that I would never, ever, ever bring in. Ever, line in the sand, ever. Yeah, it just doesn't flow with what I'm creating. And I'm very clear. You need to be very self-aware enough to be able to communicate with precision and correct yourself. And also it looks like forgiveness, a lot of forgiveness. And all these aspects there, I would consider them soft skills to have developed before you bring people in and just rough out.
Yeah.
Not only running your business, but also dealing with the relationship that has significant and severe impacts to you.
Right.
So that definitely need to get clear. And then once those things are, you found your favorite family member or the person that you do want to bring in and that you trust them and you like how they work, they have the work ethic that you feel matches what you're trying to create, you create that contract. You say, okay, these are, it's going to look like this. We should meet once a week or at this time, 11 o'clock. If you can't make it, you let me know in 24 hours in advance. There's really clear boundaries. And this is the compensation. This is when it's going to get paid out or it's due at the end of this project.
So you mentioned boundaries. What type of boundaries? How do you manage? Like, do you talk about work when you are at home, just chilling, just having a mom-daughter moment? Like, how do you draw those boundaries, and what are some of those important boundaries that you have built with this relationship?
The boundaries look like, I don't know. I feel like I'm second guessing myself and answering this question a little bit because the boundaries for me, like my business is every day, all day, like it comes up all the time. Like if I
Right.
really were to consider things, business meetings based on conversation, I would say all
Mhm.
my meetings, all my dinners, all my breakfasts, all
Their
my
business.
snacks, they're all
Yeah.
business, in some certain aspect. However, the other thing that I do make a point to do is to make invitations to create experiences that are not just about the business. Like, let's go see this, let's go see this show. The
Right.
invitations are for creating memories. And I feel like that at that point, things are personal and you have to be in the moment to enjoy those outdoorsy activities or events that you love together. And I think that
Mhm.
that's my boundary for like, am I in business brain or am I in enjoying my family the way that they're meant to be enjoyed, right?
Yes. Yeah. And is it the same all the way around? Is it the same for your mom towards you and your business? Or you feel like sometimes you need to reinforce, like, we are not working now?
Wow. I am more so working than not working. So for her,
It's your
I'm
mom
sure that,
boss.
yeah, the the experience for her is like of me is that, I'm always working unless I say I'm not working.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So it's, yeah, that's what it looks like right now.
This has been amazing. I want people to find you and tell us everything else that you're doing.
I am on LinkedIn, Von Marie Thomas, Breakaway, Bookkeeping and Advising. I'm also on primarily my social media platform that I'm usually more casual on is Instagram. And I'll post things about what I did for the weekend and what I'm finding is crazy in the news these days. Deadlines, right? I'm very big on reminding my clients about deadlines. I'll share them as well. My posts, they're all about, yes, you might be scrolling casually, but sometimes you want that person to be like, oh, thank goodness they posted about that because now I have to go back to my computer and get that done before. That's the kind of person and I am on the internet. So there's a lot of fun and also business tips and tricks always. And then I am also working on having my own podcast, Alejandra. So I am excited to talk about that as well. It's still very early in the works, but if you follow me or, want to hear more money conversations around that, around business and accounting specifically, getting payments in on time, things like that, and tips for your business, I'm happy to discuss those topics and then maybe even suggest some to me. I would love to hear as well.
Okay. Did you hear something that you liked in today's episode? If so, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead right now. Yes, right now. Before this episode ends, and send this episode to those 3 friends, 3 girlfriends that you know you can go to talk about finance, independence, money, business growth, entrepreneur life, and all of these juicy topics. Share this episode with them because that is the only way we can grow together. I'm Alejandra Rojas, your host, and I will see you next week.